You are watching Layman's Review, and this is a review of Season 2 of Made in Abyss.
Let's go. Season 2 of Made in Abyss has finally ended, and we are saddened. But
Very much so.
I don't want to bore you anything. We got all the videos that we can link to. We've done each episode to episode, but we wanted to take an overview of this.
I'm glad you say that because I didn't want to recap every episode again.
No, I don't want to recap.
wanted to just get into our deep thoughts.
This
here.
is recap stuff. We don't need mumble jumbo up here. It opens up into, like, we find a town that's vicious and creepy, and I didn't know how to take that as a viewer because, like, I felt like everybody in that town was out to get me, get our team, and just do wrong. And kind of they were. You know, I definitely think that, you know, when you assess something by value, I think that, and that's all the show in this town was built around, is what you value. And I think that is a concept for a show and even an anime. I'm going to say cartoon, don't hurt me, but is an animated piece of material. I thought that was pretty deep. Yeah. You know, I think that was a neat thing. Yes, we all can equate to that. We value something. You value something different than I do, and that's what that town was based on. I'm going to put this in here because I think, like, what this show did very well throughout the entire thing was you had all those questions. We reference it in a lot of our episodes, those questions that we had. But, you know, they took that time and they took that energy to do episodes of past. And they showed you, like, with the initial people exploring the pit, the abyss. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, Season 2 was the story of the village. Right. I know that in the grand scheme of things, Rico, Nanachi, and Reg are descending, and we came into the season, we were so optimistic. We came off if you remember, the movie, and we were like, okay, I'm just excited to see what the hell's down here. And you get down, and you find out that they only got as far as the first village they ran into, and this entire season is like, oh, yeah, it's just a village. And now let's go 12 episodes into the history of this village, how it became, what these things are, why they look like this, and then you bring in Fapata as, like, this overarching, I'll call her a villain of the season, but
for sure,
absolutely, I don't believe she is.
We'll get into that too.
It's just kind of amazing how you can just, like, make me care so much about some random village at this layer of the abyss when I was looking forward to seeing what kind of adventures they'd get into down there. And it turned out that the very first thing they told you a story about, the village, was, like, the most captivating thing. I was at the edge of my seat all season. I wanted to know all these answers to all these questions so fast.
Yeah, right. And I think they only, like, in this town, how many days do you think passed?
I don't know. Maybe a couple weeks.
Maybe a couple. I'd say a couple days to maybe a couple weeks.
But tops. I liked how, like, the drip that you were getting for, like, how you were getting answers. It wasn't like the whole season they gave you no answers. It was, I would say, a very good pace for question to answer ratio. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You had a bunch of questions, and then you were like, okay, here's a couple answers.
Right. Here's a few.
We're going to give you a few more questions that you want to know. Yeah. And now, of course, in Made in Abyss style, I have a million questions.
We do,
going into this next season.
Yes, and please God, let's hope it comes quick. But I love that you put it that way. Like, we literally stepped out of that bubble that took us down the layer, and then we never left. Where you look at season 1 in the movie, we traveled from the town
to the 5th
down
layer.
5 layers.
Yeah.
And then that was in, you know, a lot of time content. And there was a lot of time we invested in that. Then this one.
And necessary, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. No, I think.
And I would have almost liked it if they told a couple layers in the season and another couple layers in the season.
Just a little bit.
And dove down a little bit deeper into, like, what each layer provided.
But could that have worked with that town like this, where obviously this town, you know, we saw how creepy the people were. But then we also learned about the creation and where it came from. I think that
Aramiri as a person.
And that was very dark in Made in Abyss style. Very dark.
It was.
Very. I honestly, half the stuff in this show, I didn't really expect. You know, they kind of caught you off guard with, like, you know,
which is a positive.
Yuko's past and how she was and how she developed as a character. But really, she was put on pause. How Imiyuri literally developed into a town that housed the people who ate her babies without her knowing. So there's a lot of things.
When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. Yes. If I explain this show to somebody that doesn't necessarily watch anime,
they'd be like,
or doesn't
what are you fucking watching?
Like, what did you smoke last night?
Yes, exactly. And you have the privilege to know that not only is that exactly what it was, but it was beautiful in the way they told it.
Yeah.
And it made perfect sense
Looked
once
good.
they started. The animation did look good.
The fight scene that we referenced in one of the episodes.
The kaijus.
It was beautiful.
It was.
I think like the fight scene. Yes, they put some effort into it. They put some budget into it, and they really came. Because honestly, when we're going through the town, looking at the market, looking at this, learning about other characters and Bailoff and Wazukan and all those people, you didn't really need that full animation and beauty because this show still isn't top animation.
Yeah. No. We were saying this before we started recording. We were trying to ask ourselves if we've ever watched like a non-action anime.
I couldn't think of one.
This is like a much more, I would say, in like the adventure genre.
And I'd say action is more because your fight scenes. That's what your show's
built
around. It's like a
sub-layer,
like Demon Slayer. Those fight scenes.
Yeah, like gorgeous. A shonen, like a battle shonen.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
But
like
that's what that show is. This is
a
long. I think this is a long format story of an adventure.
It's an adventure saga.
And
I'm here for
it. Oh yeah.
I just keep coming back to the fact that I know this is a random side tangent, but I would love to see this as a AAA video game. I know there's a game that just dropped of Main Abyss, and it's supposed to be like a retelling of like what we're experiencing.
Well,
Season 1 was. You play through it. I want to see a AAA studio create like a RPG where you create a character and you're an adventurer and you go through the stages of whistles and you go through each layer and you fight bosses and kind of like Elden Ring like made the world the main character.
But you can always go back to the town.
Would be the character. I just think as a AAA game, this would be phenomenal.
I think that would be actually not a bad idea.
In the right studio's hands. In the right studio's hands. Like From Software doing this, CD Projekt Red doing this. Yeah, I could see that turning out really well. If EA touched it, I'd be like, damn it.
You just pay to win, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, don't you want this Rico loot box? There's a 3% chance that you have a very rare relic in this.
And nothing's usable. It's all cosmetic.
Just go get mom's credit card.
It's right upstairs.
Anyway, that was just a random thought I had. I've had this thought the whole time watching Main Abyss. Like, what a perfect RPG this could be in the right studio's hands.
Right, and I just don't know if it has the traction, honestly.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and not to hate any,
it could be, but
it could be.
Yeah, that was just a random thing I wanted to throw in there.
Side note, I think the other thing I thought the entire time I'm watching it, you can see it throughout our videos that we've seen and reviewed, that you don't necessarily like the love story. They sprinkled those in, I think, in smaller bits, and I think the Nanachi MIDI one was the love story. She came back. That's what flipped me, and like, he was ready to sacrifice anything, and then you saw Vyuko kind of turning into a MIDI thing. I thought something was going to happen there. Yeah, some weird like hollow, and Nanachi I thought was just going to fall in love with her. But definitely that was like the taste of love. So you got that emotional side in this show. You got you had your action, your adventure. It was a lot in a nutshell, and the biggest part that the show really kind of wrapped around was in a handful of episodes. We only met Fapata in small doses, but the biggest character development came from her. I think the way they wrote her, the way they kind of like introduced her, and the way we ended with her in episode 12, definitely
getting through her pain and agony.
Yeah, and you know me,
revenge.
You can see in episode 11 show that we did. I didn't like her. Without episode 12 happening and the wrapping up of the angry Fapata, I don't think I would have liked her nor where the story went.
And I was just one episode before you. I thought episode 11 was the one that told me that, okay, she has something beyond rage. She has something beyond the revenge she feels, and that her character could develop into something much more than what she's been given.
Which I didn't think, because she's animalistic in nature. She was rage incarnate. She was...
Iramiri's rage.
Yeah, right.
That's what she was.
Because Iramiri had no anger, and that's what Vyuko referenced. Like, she was like, great and smooth, and that just stuck in my head.
You kill and slaughter 1,000 of my children. Right. I might be a little different.
Maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
But we grew with the town. I think, for season 2, it was good because season 1 in the movie moved quick through layers. We saw the abyss as a whole. Like, my dream might come is get the map size version of the abyss.
I do want that as a display or something.
I saw that and I was like, I kind of like that. Because you see where we traveled through, and then we end up in layer 6, and now there's nowhere to go but down.
Yep.
With season 3 being, it's coming. We just have to wait. And the season ended how I just wanted it to end. I think, having
the best thing. Yes. The best thing this show does to me, though, is pull at your heartstrings in regards to despair misery.
Right. The darker
loss.
side of life.
Yes. This is exactly. This show, if nothing else, is like a great manifestation of like the human experience and how negative it can be, but the beauty that lies in life, even though a lot of it is misery, despair, and Main Abyss is like, because you look at it and you're like, oh, it's for kids. And like 10 seconds into the first episode, you're like, oh shit, no, it's not.
The town gave up, we talked about the value of it. Everybody in that town valued everything in that town, but they were willing to give their most valuable thing, themselves, to the right cause, I'll say.
Which at the end of the episode, the end of the season was
the right cause.
We were here for 150 years. Ear gave us that for this long.
Took it from her.
We didn't really give it. She deserves for us to give ourselves back. And that was a great way to end it, to where they just didn't all die in like some rage, like fest through
the badgers and horses.
The giraffe horses.
But you think, like, if Red didn't make that slip up and actually shoot his little cannon through the wall and allow those monsters, what could have happened? Yeah. She just went on.
It could have been, yes.
Fabatu would have never been in there, I guess. But she would have never had an end to her story. They would have kept draining Imiyuri down to nothing. And they would have lived on probably for another 150 years with a angry little fox cat outside the door. When she started like kind of standing up and backing up, I was like,
there were a couple scenes that she was kind of cat-like in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was kind of cute when when Reg came and she was like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you." Wait a minute.
Yeah, right.
You're here to stop me, aren't you? It was kind of a cool scene. I laughed a little bit.
There's just another layer. There was some humor in it.
That's the other thing I wanted to say.
They tried to kind of float around it.
Because with the misery and the pain and the suffering, it also has the humor, the love, and the connection between the characters.
That's why you hooked in,
exactly.
Anchored.
Yeah.
It kind of kept you.
Can't just. It's not like a trauma porn, right?
No.
Like if it was just like trauma porn and despair porn, it wouldn't be as good as it is.
Correct.
And
I agree.
Yeah, that's why those lighter moments mean so much in a show that's this dark.
And you kind of look for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because even the scenes that were bright and colorful and all fun and that, they weren't.
They
were not.
Yeah, and in other shows you take those scenes for granted because it's not as dark as Main Abyss. But when a show is this dark, those moments, like you said, it's they mean something more. Right.
You're going to remember them differently. You're going to build that relationship with that character.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on that sheet that you want to talk about?
No, I was going to say honestly, without, because I want to explain a little bit of why it gets the grade that I'm giving it, and as you would.
Okay.
No better time. Okay. Layman's review.
Let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
I hate to just, I know this is like 2 S's in a row, but I asked myself first, did it pass the cyberpunk test? Because we put that at the top of the A, where it was like, did you feel things that like made you think it was at least as good as cyberpunk? And to me, it was a much deeper story. Mm-hmm. It was a very, okay, first of all, they're very polar opposites of like types of shows. I thought that the way this show demonstrates the depth of the characters, the music of the show is like, oh my God!
I know. This guy over here.
I want the soundtrack for this season.
Now. I do.
It was. You know how you said about Cyberpunk?
Uh-huh.
You said like, man, I just want to find the soundtrack for this. Every song in this season was like, every song fit every scene.
It did, and I think that I would hate to have that responsibility of picking a song for a certain scene. Like I even think about like orchestras making like the music for saying.
Yeah,
that's tough. Like that's a skill. It's an art because you're now selling emotion and vision through sound. And you're like trying to get in somebody's brain, and this is a difficult task to bring. And I think this show, I agree.
And how you another way that to describe why it gets an S, because to me, again, S's are something that I'm going to remember for a long time, and I'll think back, and I won't forget these shows very soon. I mean, every S to me is something that it like has its place in my brain as like that was
just lock
amazing.
You up right here.
Again, it's not perfect. It's just meant to be something that's like too important for as a show to miss.
We've talked about how do you differentiate an A from an S.
Okay.
So you can, to me, if you take your A, B, C, D, that's your normal letter grades. Obviously, we got them throughout school.
Yeah.
If you look at an S I think has to play a different game. So yes, that story there. So if you took the story in the show for its face value, it'd be an A. But if you come at it with an S, that means it hits you on those emotional things. It pulls you in differently. It makes you like, lust after another season. Like, is it a show you're proud of to talk to and tell somebody about and explain? Like, even if they came to you and said that was trash,
you felt good that you gave them the recommendation.
Right? And that, I think that kind of separates the A from the S, and I think that's a big gap because a lot can happen in between that.
Yeah.
But at its, in its simplest form, an S is that I think it's an emotional connection. It makes you feel different. It wants, we want to watch the show every week. We want to do these things every day. Those things, and I think that what pushes, because I love Cyberpunk. I thought that was an A, but very surface level. This, pun intended, is beneath the surface. It's very deep. I think that this show kind of brought that differently. And I think, going back even season 1 and 2, was season 2 better? Yeah, I think so, because I think it gave us more time to develop in one spot, where the adventure portion of this took place in season 1 in the movie.
Yeah.
And where season 2 now is like, well, let's just broaden, let's build our characters, let's develop them to where now we understand Nanachi better. We still don't know what Reg is, but Rico is there.
You still made those emotional connections with him.
Yeah. Though. Oh God, yeah. Because we found someone that from his past, like we kind of started.
We did. Yes.
Digging up about his history.
Is being put together.
Oh yeah, we found a corner and put it up there. We're building the perimeter.
Yeah.
But no, I think like as a show, like, and I don't want to keep repeating what you said, but like this show as a whole, and that's why it gets an S. And what I just said, it does beat Cyberpunk. Yep, because of that. Now, if Cyberpunk took its time and bled out its entire world and then created characters.
Made the connection between David and his mom a little bit deeper. And
right. Yeah. There are some missing points in there that could have made that show different, where I think Made in Abyss being season 2, you have a little more creativity, a little more options.
So I think the best way to put it was, if you just gave somebody the elevator pitch for Made in Abyss in season 2 in general, it sounds fucking ridiculous. And the fact that it is so beautiful in the way they told the story, and the music and the animation and the character development, all of it smushed together is an S sandwich.
And that's why you should watch Made in Abyss season 2.
Yeah, you absolutely. I mean, if you're watching this, you've watched season 2 of Made in Abyss. Oh, yeah. Tell us how you guys love the season. Is there anything that you would have changed? How was the adaptation from the manga to the anime? Was anything left out that would have been good backstory for us to know?
I wanted to, I'm glad you brought that up. This guy's going to be buying the manga.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He is.
I didn't know. You didn't even tell me that.
Nope. I'm getting it. Very hard to find volume 1.
Is it?
Yeah. But I will find it. I'm interested in it because, all the comments you guys left us really kind of was like, maybe I should. And we have so long to wait.
Yeah.
I can read season 1 and season 2 story. I probably won't read the third arc as it goes.
Understanding of it.
So I can come in and have a little more knowledge. So yes.
So when we're 45, when season 3 drops, you're ready to go. Goddamn.
This will be the first manga I believe that I will ever pick up.
Goddamn. So that means something.
It does.
That is why it's an S. All right, guys. That was the review of season 2 of Made in Abyss. As always, like, comment, and subscribe if you like what we're doing around here, and we will see you for the next episode of Layman's Review.